Just 2 weekends to go in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship, and the first of them is here at Silverstone on the national circuit. We've got the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit to come to round out the championship. But the Silverstone national layout is always one that delivers action. It's always an important weekend in the championship as well, as some drivers try to consolidate points and others try to claw back points they've lost in those previous 8 weekends in the championship. The lap itself is a fairly short and sharp one. It's relatively simple. It's 1.85 miles long, and Silverstone first played host to the championship back in 1959, although the Silverstone then looked rather different from now. Jake Hill's the lap record holder. That dates back to 2022. And after all the Donington drama last time out, it is Tom Ingram who comes here as the championship leader. And in real terms, the championship now is between Tom Ingram and Ash Sutton as the Hyundai driver takes on the Napa Ford driver. Then you've got the fight for third between the Dans. Camage ahead of Rowbottom with Jake Hill in fifth. So qualifying is coming up shortly. We've also got not only the outright championship to factor in, but also the Jack Sears Trophy and the Independence as well, where Mikey Doble has just a 2-point cushion over Dan Lloyd, and he in turn is 1 ahead of Chris Smiley. So there's an awful lot to shake out over the course of these 3 races coming up. And all of the first grid is going to be based on the qualifying session that is going to be getting underway very shortly indeed. We've had that second free practice session that determines the groups. We'll come to those in due course. But before we get into the meat of qualifying, earlier on in the day, Louise Goodman and Tim Harvey took their traditional stroll down the pit lane.
Well, we thought we would start our little pit lane, or paddock rather, wander on this occasion, because the garage is in their rear-facing format this time out, with a man who is back on the top step of that podium last time out at Donington. That was a good feeling, wasn't it?
It was a great feeling. It was nice to get, second win in this year for me, and it was the pole position was the big thing to start the weekend. Yeah. It's all about qualifying, isn't it? To get the pole, then the win and the fastest lap. It was just ticking off all the boxes, Louise, and I absolutely loved being a racing driver last time out.
Well, are you loving being a racing driver this time? What's your feelings looking ahead to qualifying this afternoon for starters? Yeah,
so FP1 wasn't quite as competitive as I was hoping it would be, but the balance wasn't perfect. So me and Barry engineer made quite a lot of changes to the car. Sort of like did one of those, and it did almost everything I wanted it to do then. And we just ended up P3 and FP2, which was fantastic. We had a good stab there on used soft tyres at the end, so there's obviously a bit more to come before we put some new ones on. Or maybe not. This circuit's so smooth, sometimes you don't get that much more out of a new tyre. You think, oh, there's half a second in a new tyre, but here might be a tenth. Yeah. So it's not as much as usual. So we've still got to work a bit harder to try and get some more out of the car. But here, straight line speed is important, and obviously because I'm 6th in the championship, I only get 11 seconds rather than 15 on the Toca Turbo Boost, which is, I'm feeling the pain of it, but obviously not as much as my teammate Tom.
Yeah.
Now look, I hate to remind you, but this time last year, you were fastest in free practice, fastest at the start of the qualifying. You thought you'd get through on the medium tyre. You're not going to make that mistake again, are you?
No. Yeah, it's amazing what you learn, and you go, I'm not going to do that again. It was very...
How long have you been in this championship?
Too long. Was it 26 years or something? Yeah, a long time. And I now know not to do that. So we're definitely going to be going out on softs at the start of qualifying. We don't know if it's going to rain or not. It says it might, but it says it should be raining right now, and it's not. It's just it's not really doing anything. So we're definitely going to use the softs. We're not going to make that mistake again, and hopefully we can get into Q3.
You talked about car setup. I know you chase it every weekend, whether it's with Barry, yourself, or looking what Tom Ingram's doing. But here, there's only really 4 corners, and 3 of them are slow, so it's quite a circuit-specific setup.
It is, absolutely. I always say you got to absolutely hanging on for dear life through Cops, which I was just then, and left foot braking as much as I possibly could. And you got to hang on and not go an inch off the curb, or you get disqualified. So as long as you can just hang on, which I was just, the rest of the lap was perfect. So I was really happy with it.
Yeah, you need a perfect lap, Tom. I'm sure you can do it. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Cheers. I can see your mum and dad in the background there. I remember their faces this time last year, so I don't want to see those faces again. Interesting, as Tom said, as we're walking around at the moment just after FP2, it is dry, it is warm. There are a few drivers out there who will be wanting that rain to come, because our championship protagonists weren't looking so hot in that session in the
Yeah,
dry,
I mean,
they?
the bit we haven't discussed is the Toka Turbo boost, the 15 seconds of boost that you get to use round this lap. And with only 4 corners, it makes the straights even more important. So if you've got that boost, it's a huge advantage, or a disadvantage if you're Ash Sutton or Tom Ingram, because you just haven't got that extra speed down the straight. However aerodynamic the car is, that extra boost is worth about 4 or 5 tenths of a second round here, which is huge, because with only 4 corners, it's hard enough to make up a tenth of a second in each of the corners to overshadow that deficit on the straights. It's really difficult. They were 17th and 12th in free practice. That's about where I expect them to possibly qualify.
And well, how important is your grid position for the start of race 1 here in terms of performance-wise? Is it all, or more or less than it is at other circuits?
Well, coming back to what you said about the weather, if it rains, it's a big help for them because it throws everything else up in the air. You can make more of a difference in the corners if it's wet than you can if it's dry. So potentially they can offset some of that Toka Turbo disadvantage, and certainly in the race it will be an advantage for those starting at the back or championship runners if they don't qualify so well in the wet.
Yeah, I'm just
now
looking over my shoulder. We're looking for Darryl de Leon, who I was hoping would be. Carry on chatting.
We'll carry on. Should we go in the garage?
Let's just see if I can stick my head in, see if he is around. And the answer is no. So we might just have to talk about him and about the BMW. I mean, what's your thought? Obviously, I could see Jake over in the corner.
Yeah, the BMWs are quite strong here. The car's always been aerodynamically quick, and of course it has good traction off those slow corners. I said that 3 of the 4 are slow, so they have good traction off them. Remember, Colin Turkington was on the front row of the grid last time here, and he joins us. well done, Darryl.
You were hidden
on the wrong side of the garage waiting. That's why.
Were you?
I was just talking about how good the BMWs are around here.
Yeah, it's gone pretty well today, so yeah, pretty happy.
Do you put that down to the traction off the corners, or just a bit of extra straight line speed, or combination?
To be honest, I don't really know. I think I've done a lot of sim work, a lot of preparation in terms of this weekend, and I think historically it's been pretty good. Like you said, traction zones and stuff. So yeah, I think we're pretty strong, but again, I was only free practice and it was dry, so it's probably going to be a wet quali next. So yeah.
Well, and what we were just debating or discussing the impact that will have. How much do you think that will shake up the order? I mean, do you think your car? We know it's quick in the dry. Will it be quick in the wet as well?
I hope so. I don't really.
There's a lot of hope going on here, Darryl.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I don't really mind what the weather does as long as the cars are quick. So, but we're quick in the dry, so that's a positive. And hopefully, if it does rain, we'll be as quick as we are in the wet. So, yeah.
I was just asking Tim as well. How important is grid slot here? What's your view on that?
It's quite important. I think, like I've mentioned previously, this championship's very close, and any little difference can really affect your race. So it's a long circuit. Oh, it's a short circuit, but there's a long straight. So I mean, like, just getting the run onto it as quick as you can is important, and getting a good launch off the line is important, because if you bog down or wherever you are in the field, it makes a big difference. So yeah.
It's a circuit actually where we've seen drafting going on previously, but with this new Quick 6 format, that's not really possible, is it?
Yeah,
Or is it?
I mean, I think it's still possible, but because you're so limited with time, it's quite crucial. So, I mean, you could have a tow, but then you could get held up on the last sector. So I think I feel you're best to just push in your free air. So, yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do.
Well, we're about to find out how qualifying pans out. And the first group of drivers we're going to see, Adam Morgan then, who topped FP2, Tom Chilton, Jake Hill, Charles Rainford, Josh Cook, Senna Proctor, Mikey Doble. Down, look at this, Dan Camish and Ash Sutton. They were only 15th and 17th in FP2. Chris Smiley also a long way back, and then Nick Hamilton. And on that evidence alone, Tim, it does suggest that around here the boost, or relative lack of it for many, is really going to hurt.
It really does hurt, David. It's one of those things, if you haven't got the boost, you're about 50 down on the...
We'll come to Tim again in a moment, because the cars are about to make their way out on track. There is Ash Sutton, and he makes his run now to join the queue down the pit lane. So everybody making their way now onto the circuit for this first group, with the Green flag having been shown. 10 minutes. Now, the good thing is around here, 10 minutes gives you quite a lot of mileage. It's a short lap, so you're into the realms of Brands Hatch, Indy and Knock Hill as the other short circuits on the lap. In the earlier FP sessions, a 56.9 from Darrell De Leon in FP1, a 56.5 in the second of the free practice sessions. Pole position last year in not ideal conditions, 62.3. That was a Tom Ingram lap. There is Ash Sutton then, who ventures out onto the circuit. Really important weekend this for Ash Sutton. He has got to score points. He's got to score big points, and he's got to outscore Tom Ingram.
Well, hopefully my microphone's working this time, and big plus for Ash Sutton is that he has got Dan Camish, his teammate, in this session as well, and he's going to need a tow from him to try and overcome that lack of Toka Turbo boost, which is worth about 0.5 of a second, 4 or 0.5 of a second round here, but a good slipstream from Dan Camish could perhaps recover a couple of tenths of that.
And Tom Ingram, just bear in mind, is the man that leads the Goodyear Wingfoot Award, which is based on points scored across the qualifying sessions.
Now, everybody will be using the soft tyre, but there's one crucial thing in Ash Sutton's favour here, is that he's been storing up carryover soft tyres, and he comes into this qualifying session with 12 soft carryover tyres, plus his 4 brand new ones, as opposed to Tom Ingram, who has only 8 carryover tyres. So there's a little bit of an advantage there on the tyre front in terms of availability, if it stays dry, of course.
Yeah, 65% chance of rain was the last update. It is certainly quite gloomy, but it's been an overcast day anyway. Really warm and sunny yesterday. Today has been much cooler, and it's meant to be cooler again tomorrow. So the front-wheel drive cars head to the pit lane to do a tyre cross. The rear-wheel drive contingent weaving around, getting more warmth into the rubber, getting the pressures up as well, as you look at Charles Rainford, who makes his way now down towards Brooklands. That's Ash Sutton having the tyre cross going on. Rainford is one of those with the 15 seconds per lap. That is a lot of boost around a short lap.
It's an awful lot of boost, but you've got 3 long flat-out sections. Although technically there are 6 corners here, there are really only 3, separated by 3 long flat-out sections. So there is actually plenty of time to use all that boost.
Charles Rainford then goes over the timing line, and it's going to be really initially Jake Hill and Charles Rainford whose lap times are of interest, and then we'll factor in the front-wheel drive cars. 6 will progress, of course, and as ever, some big names are going to lose out, and this is a pretty tough group to be in.
Yes, it is a tough group, and we're expecting fast times because they've all already been well underneath the qualifying lap record that you mentioned earlier, and of course the actual race lap record by nearly half a second. So these cars are going as quick as, or quicker than they've ever done around this Silverstone National Circuit.
So Charles Rainford doing purple sectors, which means quicker than anybody, but there's not really much to judge him against. He will do a target lap.
Now, you know he's starting a fast lap when he takes that very wide line round this Luffield at the end, just to get a much better exit, straighter exit, carrying more speed.
And as he heads then over the timing line, he's just going to perhaps get involved in traffic. There are 1 or 2 leaving the pit lane, in other words, front-wheel drive cars that will not be on push laps. And there, look, it's one of the perils of all of this. Charles Rainford on a flying lap, goes up towards Beckett, but he's going to have slow cars around him. Chris Smiley just up the road ahead. Hopefully that's not going to be an issue for Charles Rainford, who at the moment is the fastest on a 58.845, and we understand it's starting to rain outside. So you've got to get a lap in now before the track surface really changes.
Well, this is where the BMWs do have a bit of an advantage, because they're already up to speed. The front-wheel drive cars have had to stop and cross their tyres over, and already there's traffic in front. Smiley getting out of the way. Rainford was actually compromised a little bit on the way through Beckett's on the braking, because he couldn't take the wide line in.
So let's see what the lap is then. As he uses all the boost for the lap, he comes up towards the timing beam, goes through now, and Charles Rainford with the wiper on, look, does a 57.0, 57.062. That's not as good as they were doing in free practice, but maybe it was slightly traffic effective. But if the track surface is going to change, then let's see, he might be sitting pretty. This is Dan Camish, twice a pole position winner already this year, and the Napa Racing Ford then heads up towards the timing line. So Camish is about to try to put a lap on the board, and he goes third. That was a 57.931. Rainford, Hill, Camish, the 3 that have done a lap time. We're into the second half of this first part of qualifying.
And I can tell you that Sutton is not, although he's next to cross the line, he's not following in the toe of Camish.
No, and he's slower in the times as well. He's done a 58.321, so there's more to come from him. And you can see most of the cars now with a wiper on. We've also just had Tom Chilton go through. And we're giving you these lap times before we hear anything about track limit offences. But so far so good. Nothing has popped up on the message line to say that people are in strife. You can see the spots of rain on the camera lens, and you can see Josh Cook going across the line, and he does a 60.194. Does look as though the track's getting slower.
Yeah, I can see rain physically out of our commentary box here. It's getting worse and worse. I think we may have even missed the window, but those BMWs, they got out there early, kept us out on the track. It may even have been better for the front-wheel drive cars to have stayed out, but it's BMW 1-2 at the moment.
And those without a lap time are Senna Proctor, Adam Morgan and Tom Chilton. So the Team Virtue Hyundais may well have, by their timing of this, tripped themselves up. They need a lap time. That's Proctor. Look, and he's really having to fight the car as he comes then over the timing line. That was coming out of Woodcote down towards Copse. So Senna Proctor goes through on a really greasy track surface. He is 8th ahead of Doble, Chilton, Morgan, but 6 go through. And at the moment, that is Rainford, Hill, Camish, Sutton, much mopping of brow, and Smiley and Cook.
Yeah, and the lap times now, last lap times for Rainford and Hill are 104s, 103s. Yeah. Remember, they did 57s, so that's 7 seconds off what they did. So it's already gone past the point where they can get the slicks to work.
Yeah, now what is the gap between Josh Cook 6th and Hamilton 7th? 1.6 seconds, and in the deteriorating weather you're not going to find that either, are you? So it looks as though we know which of the 6 that will go through. Even though we've got 3 minutes to go, the track surface changing like this has really thrown many a team's plan completely out of the window. And if you're in the BMW, well, you were able to stay out, do the lap time. And Dan Camish is the best of the front-wheel drive contingent by being next in the queue. He's going to be mighty relieved to be third.
But you've got to stay out there and just hope that you might get it on the last lap. Remember, as long as they start the lap before the time clock's off, they can still finish a lap. It already looks a little bit better to the naked eye. They might get a lap in, but they've got to stay out.
Well, Charles Rainford is a 10th quicker than Jake Hill, but he is 6/10 quicker than Dan Camish, so he's going to progress, come what may. There is Jake, he is staying out. Do we worry that Charles Rainford is in the pits with the bonnet up?
Well, let's see what this lap time is for Hill, because he's obviously on a flyer, and it's a 106, so 9 seconds off. It's not going to look at a big twitch there, so it's not going to change, I don't think.
Well, we have had Mikey Doble gain a place, 9th up to 8th, so people are trying to find a bit more pace, succeeding in finding a bit more pace of those in the wet. I mentioned Mikey Doble. Senna Proctor's trying to fight back with a personal best sector, and Proctor goes back up to 8th. Adam Morgan goes up to 9th, but they're not breaking into the top 6, which is what they need to do. Josh Cook is 6th, and at the moment, with a 1.6 second cushion, he's looking okay.
Yeah, I mean, Proctor and Chilton did their best laps, 61.8, but that's still a good 3 seconds off what they need to do. But they're going to get 2 more laps out of this. It's possible on that last lap, although the wipers are really on heavily there, aren't they?
Yeah.
It is possible on the last lap, maybe. The circuit can change by as much as 2 seconds a lap.
And Mikey Doble goes 6th at the expense of Josh Cook. So we're not now talking about deposing Charles Rainford from the top time, but we are talking about getting into the top 6. So Mikey Doble is up to 6th, Josh Cook is out of it. He is still on the circuit, having pitted Rainford, Sutton and Smiley, but everybody else now improving lap times, especially the Hyundais. They are finding a bit of time. Proctor goes 5th, so that dumps out Doble. Smiley is now vulnerable with half a minute to go.
Yeah, the target time to beat is the 6th place time, which is 59.8. It's not the quickest time, it's 59.8, which they're now able to beat. So anything can happen in that bottom 5th, 6th position.
Yeah, so Chris Smiley is 6th. The gap to Doble is 2 tenths. Doble to Cook, 61 thousandths. Cook to Chilton, 51 thousandths. And there over the timing line goes Josh Cook. And that is back up into 5th in the times, 59.619. Smiley is out, and worse, Smiley's in the pits.
Yeah, and perfect timing for Josh Cook anyway. He gets across the line with 1 more lap to go, as does Doble, and the others will be taking the line, and it'll be his last lap.
And Doble got up to 5th, so Proctor is bumped out as well now. So your 6 are Rainford, Hill, Camish, Sutton, but then 5th, 6th, everything else behind has been changing, and it's currently Doble and Cook that will go through. Make that Proctor and Doble, because Proctor's up to 5th.
Everyone on their last lap at the moment. Doble on the bubble in 6th.
Doble to Morgan was a 10th. Adam Morgan has taken the flag.
Chilton doesn't get through. He passed that last lap, but he didn't improve.
So you'll be off to remind him of this session as well, won't you? Yeah. And so the other car to keep an eye on, Josh Cook. I don't think he's taken the flag. He has done now, and he goes 6th. Josh Cook 6th on his last lap through. So Josh Cook does a 58.601, and that pushes Mikey Doble out of it.
Yeah, Josh Cook with the M Sport engine now in his Toyota. Remember, teammates Aaron Smith had one in at the last meeting. He now has one in place of the Neil Brown engine. So it's only Max Buxton who still has the Neil Brown engine in the Toyota Corollas. So we have Rainford, Hill, Doble, Sutton, who also improved, Proctor, and the final man through, Josh Cook,
who was in and out, and Dan Camish has had a lap time taken off him, so he is out, and Mikey Doble is up to 3rd. So it has all changed right at the very end. Now Dan Camish's lap has been taken away. Oh, he's failed the ride height check. That's why. Car 27 failed the ride height check. So Dan Camish has lost all of his laps. I was trying to just quickly work out why he'd been put to the bottom without a lap time, and the answer is that 27 has failed the ride height check. So Rainford, Hill, Doble, Sutton. Where did Doble suddenly spring from? Sutton 4th, Proctor 5th, and Cook 6th.
The unusual thing about that is they're not running on wets. Normally when they run on wets and wear them down is when they fail the ride height. To fail the ride height on slicks is really unusual because they have plenty of opportunity to check the car, and they do constantly.
Now Doble's last lap was good enough to go 4th, take Camish out, he's up to 3rd, but it was a proper flying lap of 57 from Mikey Doble. So the road improved again right at the very end. Right, so let's just recap. Rainford, Hill, Doble, the top 3, Dan Camish out through failing the ride height. So Group 1 out of Q1, the 6 that go through, Charles Rainford, Jake Hill, and then Mikey Doble doing his personal best lap as he took the checkered flag. Ash Sutton 4th, Senna Proctor 5th, and Josh Cook 6th. Adam Morgan goes, Tom Chilton goes, Chris Smiley goes, Nick Hamilton goes, Dan Camish fails the ride height, and therefore is going to go to the back of the grid. And therefore, not only is that bad news for Dan Camish, it's bad news for Ash Sutton, because that's a teammate that can't help him, because he's going to be behind not only Sutton, but behind Ingram. And we understand here Tom Chilton is having a problem on that ride height check as well. Right, Group 2 underway.
Yeah, no time to dwell on that. We'll get a report on that later. I didn't see the Chilton problem, but it was reported to us. So here we are with Group 2.
And it's Daryl De Leon, Dan Lloyd, Aidan Moffat, Gordon Shedden, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Tom Ingram, Dan Rowbottom, Sam Osborne, Max Buxton, Dexter Patterson, and Nick Halstead. That the group, and we're hearing in our ears that Tom Chilton has failed the ride height check. Now that doesn't affect the top 6, he wasn't in the top 6, but that's ironically now 1 each from the 2 championship fighting teams to the back. They've done the same thing, failed the ride height, and that's 1 per team that can't help the real challenger for the championship.
Yeah, both teammates that could have been very much in the frame. Barry Plowman, the engineer, will be scratching his head. Very, very unusual. Very unusual, as I say, on slicks at this point.
Much head scratching. So it'll be a very disappointed Tom Chilton, a very disappointed Dan Camish. Of course, that's going to affect Dan not only in terms of helping Ash Sutton, but in his own battle to be 3rd against teammate Dan Rowbottom. So
well, we'll wait and see what happens to Rowbottom.
Well, there is that, yes. I was going to say, how many whammies do you want in all of this before old Dan Camish? Right, this is Tom Ingram in the meantime. Let's get into Group 2. About 90 seconds has already rattled by as Patterson, Lloyd, Halstead, Shedden, Taylor-Smith, Buxton, Moffat, Rowbottom, Ingram, Osborne, De Leon was the order when they came over the line. And Osborne is being shown as having gone out on wets, interestingly.
Oh, weird.
Not that wet,
we saw how hard that Ingram was working those tyres. Remember, those front tyres will be diagonal and go on the rear, but he was leaving black lines out of Luffield. He's really working them hard to get some heat into them before they go on the back. Interestingly, Osborne here in shot has actually stayed out. So he's doing either an extra lap or he's just going to try and get a time on the board with those rears left on it. If he thinks it's going to carry on raining, he might just stay out.
So it's going to be interesting to see who can deliver what. But bearing in mind that Mikey Doble at the end of Group 1, as he took the flag, was down to a 57, and the best lap was a 57. You know, he was virtually on a Rainford pace.
Yeah, I think it was 9/10 off, but that showed how quickly the track dried at that end. We thought maybe it might just get in there in that last lap, and he proved it was possible, because it's only very light sprinkles that we've got coming down.
So you've got cars heading to the pits for the tyre cross, some ready to go back out, like Tom Ingram, for example. Dan Rowbottom has just gone through, and he does a target time of a 62.4, but we know there is more to come. First time the drivers have been on a greasy track all day, so they're assessing where the grip is and whether it's consistent all the way around. Right, so Sam Osborne has now gone the fastest on his wets, 60.835, but I don't think he's going to hang on to that.
Yeah, I forgot he was on wets, that's why I didn't cross them over or stay out, but I'm sure it'll be quicker times than that now, because it's just not that wet.
Yeah, he's only a 10th ahead of Darryl De Leon in the BMW. Dan Rowbottom third at the minute with a 62.4, but there's more to come from Robo now as he accelerates out of Brooklands up towards Luffield. 6.5 minutes on the clock then in this second group. Wipers still on, and the drivers, as I say, trying to work out where the grip is. How much of the curb can they use? Where is the grip going to disappear? Rowbottom on the boost then, comes up towards the line. Fourth in the championship, gives him 7 seconds a lap. He goes fastest. We're into the 59s, 59.589 for him.
Yeah, the track limits issue here is primarily at Turn 1 Cops, but it does apply everywhere around the track. So where you saw Rowbottom come out wide over the black and white paint and onto the green, that technically that's perfectly okay. But if you go out onto the green, that's technically an infringement of track limits. But whether they're monitoring that, I don't know.
Yeah, the clerk of the course, Ian Watson, was saying the two key areas monitored by cameras are Turn 1 here, as Tim was saying, Cops, and there you see Gordon Shedden going through Brooklands, cut the inside of Brooklands. That's the other element that is being monitored, cutting the corner there. This is Shedden then, Alton Park winner, and he's about to put his first lap time on the board then as he accelerates up towards the timing line. Let's see what this is going to translate to. Got to be in the top 6, 5 minutes on the clock. Shedden goes second, so it's De Leon, Shedden, Rowbottom, Osborne, Moffat, Patterson the order at the minute, and that's about to change because Moffat goes quickest, 57.9.
One good thing about this nice short lap time of under a minute is you do get more laps in for the 10 minutes of time, as very wide there on the exit of Brooklands, but setting up for a lap. On board with Tom Ingram, we're going to follow. He's going to get a nice little toe on this lap, isn't he? An excellent toe. This is the first of the straight flat-out sections through Woodcote down to Turn 1, which is Cops.
That's Darryl De Leon ahead, and that moment at Brooklands compromised the last lap, so no improvement. Moffat, Taylor Smith now the top 2. Aaron was a pole winner here last year, only to have it taken off him because of the right height, so he'll be eager to improve on that. Dan Lloyd now goes fastest, 57.6. We've got 4 minutes to go. Now Gordon Shedden goes fastest by 33 thousandths, 57.625.
Yeah, so lap time's nearly down to what we saw in free practice. Not surprisingly, Sam Osborne has pitted and put a set of soft tyres on.
And he's got 4 minutes in which to get out, get warm, get a time, because he's not last, but he's outside the top 6. This is Darryl De Leon, who is 6th. So he's very much on the bubble right now. Darryl De Leon finds himself, comes through Woodcote. Speed building up towards the timing line. Comes out of Woodcote, breaks the beam, and Darryl De Leon goes quickest then on a 57.190. He's almost at Rainford's pace from the first group.
Well, the quickest time we saw in free practice was 56.6, so a little way off that, but you'd expect that, but that's still nevertheless a good time from De Leon, who was quickest in free practice 1. But Lloyd now goes quickest on a 57.0.
It's almost every car coming over the line goes quicker as the road gets drier, isn't it? But you're right, Dan Lloyd fastest now by a 10th. So who is 6th? It is Dexter Patterson. Significantly though, Ingram is 7th. That means he ain't going any further unless he can find some time. Aidan Moffat's just had a further lap time disallowed for track limits, but we need to focus on Ingram. We're riding with him to see if he can get into the top 6. Rowbottom, by the way, is only 9th. He's got 2 big names there who need to try to find a bit of time, and Ingram is the more significant with respect because he's fighting for a championship. Here he comes then through Woodcote and accelerates up towards the timing line. Taylor Smith has improved to 4th. Ingram goes through and he's up to 6th. He's just got himself in by 0.3 of a second, but there's no guarantee he's going to stay there.
No, he's still got that nice toe from De Leon. De Leon probably a little bit further away than he would ideally like. Here comes Aidan Moffat up to the final corner, Luffield. Let's see what this lap delivers for him. He's currently in anyway in 3rd place, but nobody's going to stop trying until the very last minute.
Absolutely right. We've got 2 minutes and 20 seconds still to go as Aidan Moffat goes through. Again, with respect to Aidan, qualifying has not necessarily been his forte this year, but he's trying hard, that's for sure, right now. And Rowbottom is up to 5th, and that means Ingram is back down to 7th. So Ingram is out. Ingram has got to find 41 thousandths of a second to be ahead of Gordon Shedden. That is the fine margin that we're talking about, and you're on board with Ingram, and he's done a personal best in Sector 1, a personal best in Sector 2, and in Sector 3, can he get in? No! He's slower in the 3rd sector, and he stays 7th, and he's got 1 minute and 3/4, and he's running out of time, he's running out of laps, he's running out of options.
And a big moment there on the exit of Copse. He was over the inside a little too aggressively. He's now had to bail out of this lap. He will get another one if he just composes himself, but that cost him time. And remember, he knows that Sutton got through in the first session. He'll be told that by Spencer Aldridge, his engineer.
Gordon Shedden up to 3rd, incidentally. Moffat goes quickest, 57.061, and that means that he's quicker than Rainford by 1,000th.
Yeah, good effort, very good effort. And you said he couldn't qualify. Lock up there from Ingram. This is his last shot. He'll go wide here. He'll tee it up for a really good time. And he's going to get a toe off the... No, he's a bit too far back.
Yeah.
There he goes. He goes out wide, cuts back, straightens the exit, gets the power on early to start this last lap, which will be his last lap.
Right, so all eyes on Tom Ingram. It is now or never. Through he goes. Right, the gap between Rowbottom 6th, Ingram 7th now is just 96 thousandths of a second. Again, we're talking tiny, tiny margins. And what Ingram has tried to do is buy himself clear track space. Doesn't want anybody to get in the way. The others that are not going any further. Dexter Patterson, Sam Osborne, Max Buxton, Nick Halstead. But if Tom Ingram misses out on this, it is not going to be a very encouraging start to the weekend for the championship leader, and he is down in Sector 1, slower than he has been previously.
Not a personal best at 15.0, even though he's getting a toe. He's trying to put that perfect lap together. There's only 4 corners for the driver to make a real difference, so it's very, very tough. Goes in deep, rotates the car mid-corner, squares it off on the exit, and it's the run to the line. But the time doesn't, the split doesn't look good on Sector 2 either.
No, he's down in Sector 1, down in Sector 2. Ingram comes across the timing line and stays 7th. Ingram is out of qualifying.
And it's actually Sutton's teammate, Dan Rowbottom, that's pushed him out. So Rowbottom has done his teammate a big favour there.
And that's the first time all season that Ingram doesn't make it into Q2.
He's been, his worst qualifying position is 4th all year, which he's done twice.
So out goes Tom Ingram, and there is going to be quite a lot of discussion about that, no doubt, in the garage. Not a great session thus far for Team Virtue, is it?
No, interesting seeing some wipers go back on. I'm not sure if that's because it's spitting or he just left them on, but good effort from the man you said couldn't qualify, Aidan Moffat there.
I didn't say he couldn't, I just said it's not his forte.
Okay.
He races better than he qualifies.
Okay.
And we're not done yet. We're not done with qualifying yet, but well done, Aidan Moffat. Fastest in that group and topping those times 1,000th quicker than Charles Rainford, his teammate, who topped the earlier group. That is only the 2nd time this year, though, that Aidan has got into Q2. Bravo. So Aidan Moffat the fastest from Dan Lloyd and Darrell de Leon. Gordon Shedden 4th. And there you see Dan Rowbottom, who has just done Ash Sutton a big favour by bumping out Tom Ingram and keeping him out of that top 6. So Q1 Group 2, the progression for Aidan Moffat, for Dan Lloyd, for Darrell de Leon, Gordon Shedden and Aaron Taylor-Smith, and Dan Rowbottom. They are the 6 that will go through. Tom Ingram out. First time all season he has missed Q2. Max Buxton goes. Dexter Patterson is out. Farewell Sam Osborne. And the other one to go is Nick Halstead. And that therefore gives us those 6 drivers to face the, first of all, scrutineering checks. Tom Ingram would quite like somebody else to drop out through the ride height check. He wants to pass, but he wants 1 or 2 others to perhaps fail and give him an opportunity. So Charles Rainford, Jake Hill, Mikey Doble, Ash Sutton, Senna Proctor and Josh Cook from that first group, being joined by the 6 to be confirmed in a moment once scrutineering checks are done out of Group 2.
So interesting going into the next Q2 with the 12 there. There are quite a few cars with a maximum 15 seconds, but of those with restricted TOCA Turbo Boost, Jake Hill has 9 seconds, Dan Rowbottom has 7, Ash Sutton has 3, everyone else has the maximum of 15. So it shows how important that TOCA Turbo Boost is when 9 of the 12 have all got maximum boost to go through.
So there, Tom Ingram's car, which will now not be doing very much else for the remainder of the session, and there'll be lots of data to look over, and they're very disappointed, Tom Ingram. He has been involved in this championship long enough to know that you have good weekends and bad weekends, but is this the start of a bad weekend? It's very rare you get through a whole championship season without one bad day, one bad weekend, and he does not need it to happen here.
No, and the car is strong. The car is very strong, but this is the worst place to come to with a lack of turbo boost, because it's going to hurt you in qualifying, as they know. But it does put him in a bit of a danger zone for the grid for race 1.
So let's just remind ourselves that Aidan Moffat and Dan Lloyd, as well as Daryl De Leon, will go through, along with Gordon Shedden, Aaron Taylor-Smith and Dan Rowbottom to join the 6 from that first group. And BMWs then topping each of the 2 groups, although perhaps that was slightly weather affected. Nick Halstead, as you see, 11th in that group, another one sadly that's going to be way down on the grid, but we now know Tom Chilton and Dan Camish to be at the very back through failing that ride height. So it's already interesting, isn't it? And we're not done yet. 2 more elements to qualifying to go as Ash Sutton awaits a green light at the end of the pit lane, and our second part of qualifying, where you've got 12 of them, so a slightly busier circuit that's ready to get underway.
This will be a tough ask for Sutton now, because this is going to be a very tough group to get in the final 6. I don't think he'll do it, but I think he'll try and get obviously as high as he can. But to get in that top 6, very tough.
Just being ahead of Tom Ingram is going to be absolutely vital. Right, let's just reflect on Tom Ingram. Louise is down there in probably, Lou, not a very happy camp.
A frustrated camp would be a fair thing to say, and you can tell that frustration. I mean, Tom is a driver who always comes out for a chat, but he's walked straight through the garage with his helmet on still and gone out to the trucks out at the back, so obviously hugely frustrated. I just grab a quick word with Spencer Aldridge, Tom's engineer. Said, was there any specific issue? And Spence said, we tried to play safe. We went for a medium setup between the wet and the dry, obviously expecting that we were possibly going to get more rain than we actually did, so I think that's what's compromised them. But yeah, as you say, not an ideal start to this penultimate weekend in the championship.
Indeed. Louise, thanks very much. But we do know how hard a racer Tom is. Race 1's going to be fascinating already, isn't it?
It is, but he's got a race with very few laps of turbo boost. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Qualifying, just to remind you, it's all about seconds. In the racing, it's number of laps that you have with the TOCA Turbo Boost.
Right, so out go Rainford, Hill, Doble, Sutton, Proctor, Cook, Moffat, Lloyd, De Leon, Shedden, Taylor-Smith, Rowbottom. Interesting mix of teams and drivers, and 10 minutes as Ash Sutton then, eyes forward, accelerates out of the pit lane. Heading up then through Maggots on towards Beckett's, the Toyotas, and encouragingly for Speedworks, 3 of the 4 have got through, so the M Sport motivated Corollas are looking pretty fleet, and this has always been quite a kind circuit to the Corolla.
Yeah, although ironically the problem they've been complaining about all year is straight line speed, which is the one asset that you want as much as possible here. So clearly that change to the M Sport engines is helping them out enormously. This is another car with the M Sport engine in, of course, the Power Max Cupra.
Mikey Doble getting it up on the curb. He's been on pole position here, remember. Well, I'll rephrase that. He qualified on pole position, never started on pole position because he did an extra formation lap after that breakdown in communication a couple of years back. However, we know that Mikey's quick. He's been a race winner this season, and Power Max it was announced this week, appointed as the builders of the new Toka Junior car for 2027. So exciting things in the pipeline for Adam Weaver's team that has had one heck of a season trying to regroup after that devastating fire in the summer. Mikey Doble then down to the stadium, through Brooklands up to Luffield.
And the team have been working very, very hard to get this Cupra to feel a bit more like the Vauxhall that they were so used to. It'll be an interesting test of where they've got to with that car.
So up towards the timing line goes Mikey Doble. He will come through and break the beam now, and as he does so, that's target time of 57.751.
Yeah, big commitment into turn one. It's the only fast corner on this track, and we saw Mikey Doble have a bit of a slide there on his warm-up lap, but he was fully committed on the first flying lap there.
Through Cox Corner then turns Charles Rainford, fastest in his group in Q1. And Dan Rowbottom goes across the line, so now we're going to see proper push laps get underway. Rowbottom has done a 57.3 as you see Gordon Shedden accelerating down towards the stadium. Gordon Shedden, winner in that reverse grid race at Alton Park, stands on the brakes, throws the car into Brooklands.
Yeah, an option now that we're into Q2 is that the front-wheel drive cars can leave the warm rears on the car and just put a pair of fronts on, which avoids the necessity to cross them over.
So this is Shedden then, heading up towards the line. He's got Mikey Doble ahead of him, and he's pretty much got clear track space around. Doble's a reasonable distance up the road. As Shedden goes fastest then, 57.23, and Aaron Taylor-Smith, Toyota, goes second, 57.296. That means 59 thousandths between the Corollas. Moffat third, Rowbottom fourth, Doble fifth, Rainford sixth, four now. What about Jake Hill? He goes through and goes quickest, 57.059 for Jake, and that is quicker by 2 thousandths than Moffat was topping the first part of qualifying. So BMW's looking strong here.
Yeah, and Rowbottom second, a tenth and a half behind. That's a good first opening gambit.
He'll be very mindful of the fact that wherever he ends up on the grid, he's going to be ahead of Dan Camish, which is important in that fight between those two for third in the championship then. The Cataclean Ford of Dan Rowbottom, part of that Napa Racing stable, but has been loyal to his sponsor for many, many seasons now, and Dan Rowbottom determined to try and stay in the top three if he can come season's end. This up to the line is Charles Rainford, who goes through, and as he breaks the beam, Charles Rainford goes up to fourth fastest. And right.
Yeah. Through, and also Moffat going through. Now De Leon has gone quickest in the other BMW, 56.8.
We've not yet had a time out of Ash Sutton. He's going to be the last one, I think, across the line. There he is. Ash Sutton goes through, and it's a start-up lap. Nothing flash. It's a 58.6. So at the moment, Sutton is 12th. He's the one to watch.
Proctor's in fifth. So at the moment, we've got 3 BMWs in this top 6.
And whatever plans in terms of strategy and team orders, Team Virtue and Napa Racing had, they're having to change, aren't they, because of what we've seen out of Q1. This is Shedden. Now, at the minute, he's fourth quickest. We've got just under 5 minutes to go, and Flash comes across the timing line, gets up to third on a 57.006. Dan Lloyd goes up to second for Restart Racing. Remember, he's involved in that independence battle with Mikey Doble and his teammate Chris Smiley. De Leon up to the top of the times again now. So Darryl De Leon on a 56.853. This is Ash Sutton's view as he comes out of Luffield. Now on this lap, of course, they're personal bests for Ash, but we need to see where the first proper flying lap is going to put him. Heads down to Woodcote, straightens the car up, heads over the timing line. Rowbottom has lost a lap for track limits, and Ash Sutton is still only 12th.
In actual fact, De Leon went quicker on that last lap. Another 10 quicker. We've got a spin for Sutton.
That's Sutton at Copse then. So he's gone across the line, he's gone into Copse corner, and a very rare spin for Ash Sutton.
Well, and that won't have done his cut tyres any good at all. Not only will he have potentially flat spotted them, but he'd picked up a load of marbles and rubber on them as well.
And on the runoff there is that high abrasion tarmac to try and stop a Formula 1 car. Dan Rowbottom had a moment there in FP1, and the team said that's completely destroyed that set of medium tyres. So that, yeah, you're right, it will absolutely not have done the tyres any good, and Sutton may well be heading for the pit lane.
Well, at the moment, he's 12th, and that's where he would start. So, yeah, any improvement would be welcome, but that's not helped his cause one bit.
No. Has that done damage to the tyres? Is there time in the session to come in, to pit, to put a new set on and get a time? Senna Proctor goes up to second. At the minute, he's the trailblazer for Team Virtue.
He is, and in a position potentially to back some traffic up in the race if that's where he finally qualifies. Remember, he lost it very early. In actual fact, the front tyres didn't really go across the high abrasion tarmac. They actually stayed on that clipping that inside curb. If you take too much, it just sends the car. We saw Ingram do it earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got away with that on his front tyres, and they're the crucial ones.
So he quickly rejoins, and Sutton tries now to go again. He has actually just done an improved first sector, so maybe the rubber isn't too damaged because he's certainly not pitted. There in the meantime is Aidan Moffat, who goes by. Moffat is 8th, in other words, he ain't going through. Those that are missing out at the minute are Rowbottom, Moffat, Rainford, Taylor Smith, Doble and Sutton. Inevitably, some big names were going to go, and it looks as though Sutton's going to have to work very hard with just over 2 minutes to go on this lap. 2 personal bests, but are they good enough to get him up the order? He's got to improve anyway because he doesn't want to be 12th. He's got to be higher up the grid order. He goes across the line, he improves the lap, but he's still 12th.
Still 57.7 is his best. That is a full 5 tenths basically, 0.47 off the quickest lap. That's what we said the boost was worth, 4 to 5 tenths, isn't it?
And he will be aware of that. Tony Carosa will be aware of it. They'll be factoring that into their own calculations as to where the car is in real terms. Dan Rowbottom here is 7th. Now he has got to find 36 thousandths to get into the top 6 at the expense of Gordon Shedden. He comes now up through Woodcote Corner, and as he does so, Rowbottom accelerates through, but he's down in sector 1 and down in sector 2, and he's down in sector 3.
This is the start of a lap because you saw him go very wide, so he was aborting that last lap. This is the start of a lap.
And he has got just over a minute in which to try to improve. So Rowbottom for the minute is outside that top 6. He's about to get to the end of the first sector. It needs to go green, and he's also got a bit of traffic up the road. And let's see what he can do in sector 1. The answer is he is slower.
He has 7 seconds of boost to use. He may have chosen to deploy that, wait until the second sector of the lap to deploy it, as Aaron Taylor-Smith comes up to finish his lap. He is also outside on 10th at the moment.
And with an improved sector 1 but a slower sector 2, Taylor Smith goes across the line and stays 10th fastest. Mikey Doble behind him, and Doble's struggling as well. He's only 11th at the minute.
Yeah, we're not seeing many improvements at the moment. It's not down to weather, but out is Rowbottom. He's had enough. He won't get through. He's just missed it in 7th.
Yeah, so he aborts that lap as well. Tim was suggesting he was going to go for a final charge, but he's bailed. What about Sutton? He is still 12th, and he's down in the sectors on this lap as well. This is all unravelling for Ash as he comes up towards the timing line. He will break the beam. The lap time is slower by 700ths also. There's time for one more lap. So Ash Sutton on his final lap now, but you get the feeling that neither the tyres want to know, and there just isn't the pace because of the lack of boost in the car.
No, I mean, he's actually matching his best time. His best time to 57.72, and that last lap was at 57.79. So you get the impression that that's just what the car can do. You're not going to suddenly find 2 or 3 tenths to move further up, but it's not going to stop him trying as he comes down to Brooklands, leans on that right rear, just misses the apex, which is a sign of how hard he's trying. He tries to hook up the inside and get a good exit from Luffield for the run to the line. This will be his last effort because the flag is out. Up to the line he comes. I don't think this will be anything like enough. He cuts right across the inside of the chicane, and that lap again is slower.
So he's been 12th all the way through that session. He has never hauled himself off that bottom spot. So it's not that he improved and was shuffled back. He has just remained, I'm afraid, 12th all the way through. I think Ash knew it was going to be tough, and tough it has been. So Daryl De Leon, Senna Proctor, and then Josh Cook are the top 3. 4th, Dan Lloyd. Then you've got Jake Hill and Gordon Shedden. That's Gordon's second appearance in Q2 all season, and he's therefore going to break into Q3 for the first time. So already we have an interesting grid, given the 6 that are going to be at the very front of it. So Jake Hill goes through his 3rd visit to Q3 this year. Senna Proctor goes through, 4th visit, and Josh Cook, that's his 1st as well. After those three, it is Dan Lloyd for fourth ahead of Hill and Shedden. So Darrell de Leon by a 1/10 of a second from Senna Proctor. Josh Cook third fastest, Dan Lloyd fourth, Jake Hill fifth, and Gordon Shedden the last one who will go through. Dan Rowbottom misses out, so does Aidan Moffat, so does Charles Rainford, and so also does Aaron Taylor-Smith. Mikey Doble goes, and Ash Sutton then is condemned to start 12th.
Well, De Leon has kept up that form from practice, hasn't he, with a 56.7. That's a very quick lap time, quicker than he went even in free practice, and only a 1/10 off what Adam Morgan did in free practice too, which is the quickest time so far and is a new qualifying record at the moment.
And again, what do you read into these free practice sessions? The names that we were talking about being quick early on in the day, struggling in qualifying. So the team's in the pit lane, and there are 6 drivers ready to go back out. There you've got Dan Lloyd, his second appearance in Q3, but the first ones for Josh Cook and Gordon Shedden. That's going to be encouraging, not only for them personally, but for Toyota Gazoo Racing UK, and sort of does prove that now going the M Sport route has certainly worked here, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I quizzed them very hard on what the differences were, and in actual measurable performance, there's very little difference. It's all about how that power is delivered and drivability, and the drivability of it is what's giving them extra speed. It just shows that it's not all about horsepower figures. Now, do those umbrellas going up mean that there's more drizzle coming? I can see a few umbrellas in the pit lane as well.
We are hearing it's getting heavier as Tony Carosa, facing us, talks to Ash Sutton with his back to us down in the Napa Racing garage. There was a rather disconsolate Dan Camish at the other side of the garage as well. There'll be a disappointed Dan Rowbottom in there as well. So yeah, quite a lot of hard luck stories for the end of the day. One more 10-minute part of qualifying to go. Darrell de Leon will head on to a wet circuit with Senna Proctor, Josh Cook, Dan Lloyd, Jake Hill and Gordon Shedden for company.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. That rain coming perhaps just a bit too late for the likes of Ash Sutton and Tom Ingram. They'd have loved it to have been a bit wetter, just to maybe make a bit more difference as a driver in the corners.
Family Sutton on hand, the moral support for Dad. Now, in these conditions, it's going to be really interesting, isn't it, to see who comes out on top. Ash Sutton disappointed. It was always going to be tough, though, around here with a lack of boost, wasn't it, Louise?
Well, exactly. The guys were just saying it was always going to be tough around here with the lack of boost. Was that what caught you out there?
Yeah, lack of boost, lack of saloon car. There's a few things there that quite don't fit the boat here, if that makes sense. So, yeah, not ideal from our side. And we knew entering this weekend it was going to be a struggle. You saw with FP2, all 4 of our cars were 15th or 14th to 17th, so it's a struggle. Fair play to Dan, he's done a mega job there to get the car in and have a go, but yeah, we gave it our all. Had a little spin, I ain't done that for a while, so that was fun and exciting. But
what was that? It looked like you just caught the inside of the curb. Is that what caused that?
We've suffered a little bit of oversteer at turn 1 all day, and we made some changes, but we've made some changes thinking it was going to be a bit on the wetter side. Car wasn't really ideal for the dry conditions, so yeah, just lost the rear on entry, tried to hang on, but unfortunately RPM revs went down, car kept rotating, had to give up at some point.
Starting mid-pack, that's the kind of toughest place to start in many ways, isn't it?
It is. It's the same conversation with the deployment when you've hardly got any laps. I know Tom's in the same boat, but it's going to make it super hard moving forward, and defending from the cars behind there. It's what we see in sort of 7 or 8 tenths a lap here in speed difference. You can't defend from that. It's nigh on impossible. So we'll get our elbows out for sure. We'll make it exciting, but yeah, it's going to be a tough day tomorrow.
No doubt about that. We look forward to seeing you get your elbows out. See you out there.
Cheers, boys.
And if anybody can do it, it's Ash Sutton. But yeah, reflecting on those setup adjustments that weren't quite right for the conditions. Now the conditions are deteriorating. Is this where an old hand like Gordon Shedden is able to turn it on and go quickest, I wonder?
Yeah, quite possibly. I'm looking at the timing screen. It says everyone's gone out on dry, slick tyres, soft compound tyres, but it's looking pretty iffy, isn't it?
It is. There is Gordon Shedden then coming up through Luffield. It's all a bit sketchy, isn't it, right now, as they try to work out where the grip is and how different the circuit has become in the last 5 minutes.
I mean, it's worth going to see if you can get a time straight away on the slicks as Shedden nearly goes off, just coming through Woodcote. And that is normally a flat-out, easy, just gentle turn of the wheel, but he's scrabbling around. And, of course, the cars that have just finished the qualifying session have got the warmest tyres on the cars. But if he can't make it, it's not going to be easy, because he was in that second group.
Daryl De Leon is in, Josh Cook is in, Senna Proctor is in. It might be for a cross, it might be for a full change.
It won't be for a cross because they won't have got enough heat into them. It'll be for a change, I'm sure.
So let's see who else follows suit at the end of this lap. There is Senna Proctor then.
That's a wet.
It is.
Just to confirm.
And this is Gordon Shedden coming to the end of the Wellington Straight and heading, one would suspect, towards the pit lane, but let's see.
It'll be interesting to see. It looks like he's still trying to get a lap out of this, but he may be thinking that this rain will pass like it has done before, and you're better off staying out on slicks and hoping it dries.
And he is going to stay out. He does set a time, and so a 66.4 is the opening salvo. Jake Hill, though, goes much quicker as he comes through, so Jake Hill now faster by a couple of tenths of a second. 7 minutes to go as they tiptoe through Copse.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see what a wet tyre car will do. Proctor will be the first of us to see what a wet tyre will do. But, of course, we've seen this drizzle can blow over and it can dry out very quickly.
Now, we have had a couple of cars go back out. Daryl De Leon and Josh Cook on outlaps. They are still shown as being on slicks. There is Josh Cook making his way down the pit lane, but maybe that hasn't updated as he flicks the beam at the end of pit lane. Let's check. Right then, it does look decidedly grim out there now, doesn't it? As the camera crew face the elements, the drivers have to do likewise. 6.5 minutes on the clock. Cook has gone on to wets as he now does trip the beam at pit exit. This is Gordon Shedden, who stayed out for another lap and stays out again, so trying to get as much warmth in the rubber as possible, trying to make them work. He comes through and goes fastest then. So Gordon Shedden 65.3 now to go top.
Well, a normal circuit, a wet time is about 10 seconds slower, but it's not going to be anything like as much here. It's probably going to be 6 seconds at the most. Well, you add 6 seconds on to 56 and you're going to get to 62 seconds, aren't you? So I would suggest the wet would still be quicker, but we'll see from Proctor.
Yeah, and Cook as well, because they're both now doing purple sectors. This is Senna Proctor, who is ahead on the road. He's done an absolute best in sector 1. So purple on that little graphic is better than anybody within that sector of the lap. This is Josh Cook, who's also been doing absolute best in sectors, and he is now onto a proper flying lap. He's just completed his out lap, so Cook is slightly behind in the queue. Senna Proctor is going to be the first one of note to do a wet lap, so to speak, and here he is into the stadium as we are almost at the halfway mark of this final part of qualifying. Into Luffield, a little bit wider to find a bit more grip maybe, comes off the corner, accelerates then now towards Woodcote, accelerates up towards the timing line. So Senna Proctor for Team Virtue heads towards the line. This ought to put him at the top of the times. It's 2 absolute best, so Senna Proctor goes fastest of all, and he does that on a 62.902. That's nearly 2.5 seconds quicker than anybody else.
Yeah, my 62 guess was about right, wasn't it, for a wet tyre?
It was in the ballpark.
So Shedden has got, those on the slicks have got a quick decision to make. They could pit, put wets on and still get a flying lap because you don't need to cross them. Or they've just got to hope it dries out enough for them to do a time on their slicks. But they've got to make that decision now.
And we understand that Daryl De Leon has gone on to wet, Jake Hill has gone on to wet. Over the line goes Gordon Shedden. That lap was slower, but worst case scenario, he starts on the 3rd row.
Yeah, but Cook has gone second on his wets, 4 tenths slower than Proctor.
Yeah, so there's more to come from Cook. So you've got an even split right now, 3 on wets, 3 on slicks, and that's going to become 4-2, I think, when Daryl De Leon goes out. That will confirm that he is on a wet tyre as well. This is Jake Hill then. He's on the wets now, and he's on to a flying lap. Out lap done. Now let's see what he can do. 4 minutes on the clock. Shedden's in the pits.
Shedden has bailed. He's woken up and smelt the coffee. He's only going to have to come in. He'll get 1 or maybe 2 laps at the most, depending on how quick they are. That was getting onto the wet curb on the painted curb on slightly colder rears, and it just lit up a little bit as he sought to get the maximum amount of traction off Luffield as possible.
and Jake Hill absolute best within the first sector. This is Josh Cook heading up towards the line. He was down in sector 1. It was an absolute best sector 2, and he stays second fastest then, Josh Cook, as he goes across the timing line. Jake Hill, though, absolute best and personal best. He's in the last sector. So here he comes now then up towards the line. Last year's champion who took a race win here a year ago, comes out of Luffield then. It's been a good day thus far for BMWs, certainly in that first element of qualifying. Jake Hill then now accelerates towards the line. Let's see what he can do as he comes up towards the line. This ought to put him top, and it does. Jake Hill goes quickest on a 62.4. That's 4/10 quicker than Proctor.
Yeah, nearly 4.47, so nearly half a second.
Whoa, a big loose coming out of Copse. Around goes Jake Hill, and it's the same problem. Up on the wet curb, and he's gone around and around and off the circuit, slides off at Copse on the inside, having had a real moment.
Which means yellow flag there temporarily for anybody coming through, but he's got going very quickly.
Everybody on wet tyres. We've got 2.5 minutes, just a touch over to go. This is Josh Cook then, he's down to third. He was down again in the first sector, but improved in the second. Here he comes up towards the line, third. He is up to second, goes Josh Cook then, and the margin is 2/10 away from Jake Hill. So by far and away the best we've seen in terms of raw pace out of Cook and the Toyota this year. This is Dan Lloyd, goes through, and that lap was an out lap, so this is a flying lap coming into Copse Corner. 2 minutes and change.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see what Shedden and De Leon can do, because they haven't really delivered their wet lap yet.
Yeah, this is the very understated BMW of Darryl De Leon. All year we've been waiting for suddenly something to arrive on the doors of that car, but it's been a very anonymous livery as he comes through Luffield. And on this lap, 2 personal bests for Darryl De Leon, so he's 6th currently. This ought to be an improvement, but where is it going to put him? 3rd or better? Let's see. He breaks the beam. 3rd it is for Darryl De Leon, and the lap time is a 62.889.
And still 1 minute 34 on the clock, so time for another lap.
Dan Lloyd did an absolute best in the first sector. Dan Lloyd did a personal best in the second sector. And here it is, the Restart Racing Hyundai coming up towards Woodcote Corner, out of Luffield then, avoiding the wet slippy curves. You're on board with Dan Lloyd, the Yorkshireman, accelerates up towards the line, ready to break the beam, which he does, and he goes second quickest. Dan Lloyd goes second, 62.465.
There'll be some anxious engineers in the pit lane, because remember, they've gone from slicks to wets on a drying track which wears the wets down. They'll be worried about ride heights at the end. Here comes Shedden across the line, currently 6th, and goes quickest with a 62.25. Well, he delivered that just in time, because he was late onto slicks, and he's actually got another lap.
Yeah, so nearly 2/10 quicker. Gordon Shedden late onto the wet tyre. This is Darryl De Leon coming through. He was down in the middle sector, but he still goes quickest. Darryl De Leon takes provisional pole on a 62.2. That's 38 thousandths quicker than Shedden, and he was a bit slower than previously in the middle sector.
But with an absolute best in the last sector. That's what clinched it for him.
So we're not done yet, because you've still got drivers pushing as the track surface has been changing. 20 seconds on the clock. This is Lloyd. You can see how much rain is now falling on the windscreen. Dan Lloyd was second. He's back down to 4th. He's coming up towards the line, down in the sector, so he's going to stay 4th on that lap. De Leon, Shedden, Hill, Lloyd, Cook, Proctor, the order. Darryl De Leon, remember, has never had a touring car pole. His teammate has. He's had a race win. Charles Rainford was on pole at Knockhill. The checkered flag is out. It looks like the rain has got heavier, and very, very few greens now in terms of sector improvements. I reckon we've got our order.
But it's also interesting, the 2 people who went on to the wets last, which was Shedden and De Leon, delivered the 2 quickest laps. I think the track was at its best then for the wet tyre. I think it was maybe a bit too early when the others did it initially, and then the track came to those on wets.
So this is Josh Cook, who is 5th, and he's not going to improve even if he takes the flag, because he's down in the sectors. So Darryl De Leon looks like a first pole position in the championship is going to go his way. And there is Cookie coming over the timing line. Yep, slower in all 3 sectors. 5th he is, but even that is good going after a tough season, switching, remember, from One Motorsport, which has now had to sit on the sidelines to the end of the year. And again, we wish team owner Steve Dudman well. I hope to see them all back next season. Cook then moving to T-Gruck, Toyota Gazoo Racing UK, and now with the M Sport engine, very good pace. Gordon Shedden's best qualifying of the season, as I was saying, it's the only time he's been in Q3 all year, so inevitably it was going to be his best. And second, really impressive, and he knows how to win races. So yeah, it won't be quite such a long walk for the Toyota mechanics when they go onto the grid. They're going to be right near the front for a change.
Yeah, excellent. A thrilling qualifying session and some quick decisions having to be made in the pits about tyres. But I really think that late change onto wets actually was a great advantage for De Leon and Shedden as the track just came to them at the right time.
So there is Jake Hill. Now let's just make sure that Darrell De Leon gets through with that drama, because the number 2 BMW is about to be pushed forward. Remember, he was a race winner at Brands Hatch, and provisionally he is on pole position as the roller goes under.
Yeah, that looks
comfortable.
Good.
Yeah,
that looks comfortable.
I think we're all happy with that. Then the car's going to be weighed, but Darrell De Leon then by just 38 thousandths of a second ahead of Gordon Shedden. What a session.
That was thrilling, wasn't it? A little bit of rain, as always ordered by Mr. Gow for circa between 3 and 4 o'clock, and it certainly spiced it up.
Yeah, the technical delegate for the championship, Sam Riches, was saying about an hour and a half ago, no rain, it's all blown away, it's not going to come, it's going to be dry. Yeah, okay. Nobody told the teams and the weather gods. So a wet track, but Darrell De Leon, after a mega effort, takes a maiden pole position, and that's our 7th different driver to take pole over the course of the qualifying sessions this year. And the Goodyear Wingfoot Award for this round goes Darrell De Leon's way. Senna Proctor 6th, then behind Josh Cook, Dan Lloyd 4th, top 3 in reverse, Jake Hill 3rd, Gordon Shedden, and this man, Darrell De Leon, takes pole position. Out of the car he gets, and will be very happy with that, that's for sure. Darrell, a British Racing Drivers Club rising star to look after young talent, and talented he certainly is. Right, let's have a look then at our 6 in order. Darrell De Leon fastest by 38 thousandths ahead of Gordon Shedden. Jake Hill, the reigning champion, 3rd ahead of Dan Lloyd. Josh Cook 5th, and the top 6 on the grid rounded out by Senna Proctor. And 6/10 of a second, just over 6/10, covering the 6 that we had in Q3. But of course, small gaps on a short lap. But Darrell De Leon, a maiden pole position, and a really impressive job. So that sorts out the front of the grid. We'll try and have a look at the whole order in due course, because there are some big names out of position all the way down. Dick Bennett's making his way from WSR to congratulate Darrell De Leon, and Gordon Shedden will be absolutely elated that he is up near the front of the grid as well. Jake Hill in the mix, and the best of the Team Virtue fleet of Hyundais, Senna Proctor. So only one of those got into Q3, and not a single Napa Ford. It was, of course, a few years ago that we were looking at the domination across qualifying of Napa Racing. It's been a little bit tougher this season. Aidan Moffat, I can see with his back to us there, has also made his way down towards the end of the pit lane to go and say well done to Darrell De Leon. But Darrell by just 38 thousandths of a second taking that pole position. Jake Hill was on pole at Brands back in the spring. Charles Rainford on pole at Knock Hill, and now 3rd pole for the BMW drivers here at Silverstone, courtesy of a no doubt delighted Darrell De Leon. It's probably time we heard from our 7th different pole winner of the season, Darrell De Leon. No doubt all smiles. Is with Louise.
He is all smiles indeed. Why wouldn't he be? Because it's your first pole position in BTCC and your first trophy of the weekend. Congratulations, you get the Wingfoot Award. I mean, what a great qualifying session. The guys were talking about the fact that actually going on to wets late, that seemed to really pay off, because they were just at their peak when you needed them to be.
Yeah, I got the call to box, and I was coming around Luffield about to finish my lap, and I was like, I don't really want to. But I listened to my engineer. He's got a lot of knowledge and experience, and he knows a lot more than me. So I boxed, and then had I think it was like 4 minutes on the clock, he said. And then he said, listen, you've got an out and maybe 2 laps, just go for it. So I went for it, and I didn't even know I got pole, to be honest. It's until he said, I didn't even know when I think I was realised coming in here, and I was like, no way. So, no, over the moon. We've been really fast all day, and it's just a credit to how hard Westbury Racing have been working towards making these BMWs strong again.
And it's really good, because I was thinking, like, if you know you've only got 4 minutes, that's kind of pressure on, but it sounds like you really didn't put any pressure on yourself. It's just like, go out there and do what I can.
Yeah, I mean, the team will remind me of the radio, just chill out. And because I think it was such a difficult qualifying session with the slicks and Q1 and locking up and going wide, and it was just so hard to find a rhythm. And then it was only until I made it through to Q3 they said, Daryl, just chill out. We're in a good position. We'll put these wets on. Go for the lap. So I went for the lap, and I can't believe it's pole. My first ever pole. Pole position qualifying in touring cars. I'm so happy.
How chilled out do you think you're going to be sitting there on the front of that grid for race 1 tomorrow?
I'll probably get a nosebleed. No, I've started from pole before at Knock Hill, and we had a good, had a good race until I had the the DNF, unfortunately. But listen, like I said to you earlier, there's 2 races left. All I can do is do my best, and we'll see where we end up.
Good stuff. Well done. Congratulations on that one. Right, we will get a little bit of a jog on. Rob, follow me. Let's go and have a word with Gordon Shedden. Great result. Great session for you.
Yeah, it was mega. All we need is a little bit of rain, isn't it? It seems to be a common theme here, but the cars felt good today. God, it was really sketchy on slicks at the start of that session. Even Woodcut here, which is barely a corner, things moving and shaking, and a little bit of practice at Goodwood Revival last week I think was quite good for me. But yeah, and at the right time, great result for everyone at Toyota racing with IAA. We really need it. We're starting in the front row. A lot further forward than we normally start, so we'll have a good go tomorrow.
And it is, by far and away, 2 cars in the top 6. It's the team's best qualifying result of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone's working really hard, but I hope we can translate that into some really strong point scores tomorrow. Everyone deserves it for sure.
What's your thoughts on that score? How tricky, stroke easy will that be to convert this into points tomorrow?
I've got no idea. I mean, I'd rather be starting from where I am than in the pack. So the car feels good. We're going to have a look at it tonight, and we'll see if we can have 3 clean runs tomorrow.
Well done. Look forward to seeing how you get on. Right, just final man. I can see him over in the corner, subtly sipping on a bottle of water. So I know exactly what he's doing. He's staying out of the rain, hidden away in the one dry spot in the pit lane, aren't you? Good session. Happy with that, or did you get out of it all that you could? Timing was crucial, wasn't it?
It was, and to be honest, Lou, I think I just went a smidge early, if anything. I went in a lap earlier than these 2 guys, and I don't know what it was. The track almost went through a bit of a stage of it got a little bit drier all of a sudden, and then it rained heavily. So maybe it was just that. But either way, I'm very happy. P3 is still great for us, and I think I'm the only person within the top 6 or 7 that's got a reduction in a substantial reduction in boost. So I'm pretty happy with that, and congratulations to my teammate Daryl on his first pole. It's brilliant.
It's a special moment for any driver, isn't it? Do you remember yours?
Oh, it's a while ago now, Lou. It's a while ago. It was Donington Park 2022, not that long ago. But yeah, it's a special moment, and bless him, he's been quick, the last couple of rounds, and he deserves it. So well done to him. Looking ahead to tomorrow, obviously, all nice thoughts about your teammate will go out of the window. He'll have a target on his back, won't he? Of course, that's my job, is to go after him. So. Excited for tomorrow. We've always been quite good round here. We've had a win here every single year we've been here in a BMW, and I'm looking to try and keep that up tomorrow. Similar to Knock Hill in the sense we've won there every year in a BMW. So I'm hopeful. The car's in a good place, and obviously Daryl's on pole. So looking forward to it. Good stuff. We will see you out there. And I'm just going to grab a quick word with this man standing behind us here, Dan Lloyd, P4 in that session. We were just talking about the timing with Jake. It was about being on the tyres at the right time, wasn't it? How did you fare in that respect? A little bit early onto them?
We played it right. It was good. I probably knew I only had 1 lap. Went for it. Everyone's got their own excuses. I went to boost early, blocked myself out, but could have had a little bit more. But mega happy with that. Strongest quality of the year. We've been really quick in the dry. I was gutted it was raining, because normally it goes either way. But we showed good pace in the wet as well. So looking like a good position tomorrow. And a good position. I mean, obviously you're in a battle with for the independent teams championship, but the independent drivers championship as well. So that's a good starting position for you in that respect, isn't it? Yeah, a bit of everything. That's in the back of my mind. Really hunting for an overall podium. So if I'm P4 tomorrow and someone wants to back off and be P4 and give me the hard tyres, I'll take the podium. But really good, really happy with that, and big thanks to the team, give me a good car in the dry and the wet. Good stuff. Well done. We'll see you out there tomorrow. Right, that's all from me down here. Back to you guys up in the nice, warm, dry commentary box.
Oh, that was said with feeling. Yeah, no jealousy on your part, I'm sure, Louise. Thanks very much. Good to hear from the drivers as ever. And it does tee us up nicely for race 1 tomorrow. There is depending on who you talk to and which weather app you want, more rain tomorrow or just very cold conditions. But either way, the grid is going to line up with Daryl de Leon on a first pole position of his touring car career through qualifying. Gordon Shedden's best of the year putting him second ahead of Jake Hill. Dan Lloyd's best of the year fourth. Josh Cook's best of the year fifth. Senna Proctor sixth ahead of Dan Rowbottom and Aidan Moffat. Charles Rainford and Aaron Taylor-Smith to round out the top 10. Mikey Doble 11th ahead of Ash Sutton, then he's in mid-pack 12th. Adam Morgan next, and Tom Ingram starts 14th, directly behind Sutton but a row back. Chris Smiley 15th ahead of Max Buxton, then Nick Hamilton and Dexter Patterson. Tom Chilton is going to be 19th after failing the ride height. Sam Osborne is 20th, and Dan Camish is going to be 21st. Nick Halstead 22nd. So we heard from Ash Sutton, and we know that it's a disappointed Tom Ingram. Let's hear from him with Louise.
Tom, qualifying has been such a strong point all season. This was not really a good time to have your worst one of the year, was it?
Not really, no. But at the same time, I think we knew that this was always going to be the weakest one for us in terms of qualifying with the amount of boost that we had in the car. So didn't also help with sort of uncertain weather. We sort of opted for a bit of a halfway house. I think I spoke with Spencer earlier on. I think we opted for a bit of a halfway house, which was the right thing to do, because all the radars we'd looked at and all the sort of the weather apps we'd looked at sort of was suggesting that once it's in for the rest of the afternoon. As it turns out, it decided to sort of start and stop and start and stop. We were probably too far that way, but too far that way, coupled then with the lack of boost. We've been just about with the last of our fingertips hanging on to sort of the top six that you go, we might just be able to scrape in. But realistically, we always knew it was going to be a tough ask, and actually we needed a bit of luck on our side. Similar to what happened here 12 months previous. We kind of needed that to happen again, which it has happened. We're just the wrong side of it. Disappointing, but the saving grace is obviously Ash is going to be will be 12, will be 13. So it's not disaster. It could have been a heck of a lot worse.
How does it impact the game plan for tomorrow? Is it a case of just get race one out of the way, get a power back, and away you go?
Yeah, I think so. I think pretty much. I think for Ash and I, we'll probably both be playing a similar-ish kind of game as to say, let's try and get through race one unscathed. Ash's plan will probably be different to mine. He's going to try and wound me where possible, I'm sure, but we'll wait and see what goes on. We can control the controllables. The weather's not one of them, but our performance is one of them, so we'll focus on ourselves and do the best job we can.
See you out there tomorrow.
Thank you.
So we are going to be live from Silverstone tomorrow on ITV4 from 10:45. Not only 3 fantastic touring car races to look forward to, but also, of course, day-long action from Carrera Cup GB, Porsche Sprint Challenge, GB Virtue Mini Challenge, and also the British F4 Single Seater Championship as well. So a great day of racing in prospect, and a very significant day in the outcome of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. We'll see you from 10:45 tomorrow. For now, from Louise Goodman, Tim Harvey and David Addison, it's goodbye from Silverstone.